All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday, which is very nice. The weekend is upon us. And I just want to do a quick market recap on the day. After yesterday's sell-off that we witnessed because of the comments from the Federal Reserve, which, I called in to question the timing of those comments because less than 2 weeks earlier, he had said that there was no inflation concerns and that he would be trying to target 2% inflation. And on top of that, there would be a makeup period for any inflation that wasn't occurring. And, he would try to catch up with that inflation. We bounced back pretty strongly today. So I think the market was up between 1.5% to 2.1% across all the major indexes. And, with that, looking forward to it. The link doesn't work. Hold on a second here. Can you see? Hold on a second. Let me see. Can people see me here or not? Hello? Okay, that's kind of weird that it's not, someone's saying it's not working. Okay, so sorry about that. Somebody was saying that it wasn't working, so I apologize if there's some type of error. But here, going back to the market recap, the market bounced back from yesterday's losses. It finished up between 1.5% and 2%. Oil had another strong day, finishing up, I believe, over 3%. And some of the highlights that are worth noting, that I mentioned in the AM session, the job growth was much stronger than anticipated. And, I think that's what maybe calmed some people down is that, the job growth being there is a good sign. And obviously there's been at least 4 states that open up their economies this week. And that's another healthy sign. I am very hopeful, and I'm not going to hold my breath, but I hope that this $1.9 trillion spending package does not pass in its current form. And there is some possible resistance in the U.S. Senate, which would be a good thing. Hopefully they can strip some of the provisions in that bill because it's a huge pork package. And I don't know why, but it seems as though our government is just continuing to spend money as though, we never have to pay it back. So maybe they know something we don't, but they keep taking on all this debt. And this new package is about $12,666 of debt for every American. So when you factor in how much you're going to get back, and you think as though, oh, the government's giving me money. I want you to imagine you went to the bank, you took out a loan, or you just put it on your charge card, and that's essentially what the government's doing at this point. And it's a big problem because there's been absolutely no discussion about how any of this money will be paid back. The U.S. Treasuries have moved pretty strongly in the past week. They were, a few days ago, they were 1.4%. They topped 1.61 early this morning on the jobs number, and they came back down about 1.57. This is on the 10-year U.S. Treasury. The 10-year U.S. Treasury prices a lot of things in the economy. Mortgage rates, asset prices tend to tee off of the 10-year. And so even though assets in long-term in nature, you should look at longer-term rates, a lot of stocks, a lot of bonds, every other part of the curve seems to focus in a big way on what's taking place with the 10-year Treasury. The short-term rates have also risen because of what's taking place. Hold on one second. And so that's causing, we have a possibility of the yield curve, the entire yield curve, just moving up together. So just imagine a yield curve is, short rates is cheaper money, and then it gets more expensive as time goes on, partly because we don't know, there's more uncertainty in the future. And if you want to lock up your money for a longer period of time, you would demand more for it. That's traditionally why the yield curve tends to go up like the first part of a rainbow. Now, sometimes the yield curve can invert. We're not in that situation. That's when there's a lot of inflation and they need to stop it. So then it'll be the other part of the rainbow and it goes down. And so, let's hope that never happens. But usually when the economy is starting to pick up across the board, you'll see the yield curve go, it'll go like this, and it just moves up across the board. And it just kind of like, if you guys remember your economics class, it just kind of moves out together, across all parts of the curve. And that's actually a healthy sign if it's not too high and the economy is truly growing. With regards to investing, yes, you can fill out information, at Preactive Investments if you would like to possibly be an investor. Someone just asked that. I just put the banner up right there, and we can kind of go through what it is we do with financial planning and asset management. One other thing I wanted to note, just a couple things. This is an unconventional finance program, so think of it as the anti-establishment, market wrap and market commentary program. I mentioned the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, in my opinion, should not exist. I think that the information as it's being gathered by various government agencies should be easily accessible to all market participants. And we don't need one joker who shoots his mouth off on one day one way and then another day another way and causes trillions of dollars to reprice. Yesterday, the stock market lost almost $1 trillion in the United States on the companies that I follow. I think it was down like 850 to 900 billion, because this guy is basically creating vol, because he 7 days earlier he said there was no inflation, and then all of a sudden he's suggesting there might be inflation. So I think what we should be doing is all the information of what's taking place in the economy in real time should be disclosed to everybody who has money on the line, which is basically every American. And we should set what interest rates should look like, and we should go to sound money policy, and so that these bureaucrats stop debasing our currency. Now, they printed a lot of money last year, and I've talked about that in another episode, where they needed to do that, and I don't disagree with that decision. And people who think no, the government should never print, when we hit a problem like we did with a pandemic, which is equivalent of a war, I think they underestimate just how devastating it could have turned into, the situation. If President Trump didn't do what he did, we could have had a 30% unemployment rate. And I hate to say it, but the lunatic left was kind of rooting for that. And the fact that the unemployment rate topped 20%, and now it's only at 6.2% because of the wisdom of what President Trump, who he listened to, is a sign that the right moves were made. Now, in terms of correcting some of the excess in the system, there's a lot of different ways that we could probably do that. Some people may not like it, but we definitely need to cut the size of the government by 25 to 50%. I don't think that's going to happen with the current House being controlled by Democrats and the Senate being 50-50 split, and then someone who isn't even home in the White House. I'm not sure where he is. Maybe he's still hanging out in his basement. Maybe that's where he finds his comfort. But, I am hopeful that we'll be able to hold the line. People need to speak up against this. Right now, I keep thinking back to what Gandhi did in India and what MLK did in the United States. The public, if you're concerned about HR 1, which you should be, if you haven't taken the time to read it, please do read some of the provisions in the bill. I did a little clip on it yesterday or maybe 2 days ago. Take a look at HR 1. And I think before that thing tries to get passed into law, we should protest across the entire country. And this is what is kind of aggravating to me, And this is why I created this new political party. And we'll see, maybe it'll just be a little sideshow and people will laugh at it, which is fine. But the United Spirits of America, if it was up and running in any form, and it was just 1% of the US population or 2%, and we truly mobilized across this country because the GOP refuses to do anything that shows that they have leadership at all, we should mobilize across the country and fight this insanity of HR 1. But instead, they just confirm what we've all seen, which is they're in on it. The Republicans and the Democrats seem to be in on it. I don't want to say what it is, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So look into it yourselves. But this is a big deal because it's going to impact your money, because if they can continue to accrue and get more power, they're going to try to turn this country into Illinois and California. Go look at the numbers. I'll be posting things about Illinois over the next few weeks about how bad it is here. We are in a communist nation within the United States. That's called Illinois. California is a close second, but I think Illinois is far worse than California. And I know we're bickering because I've had some people from California tell me Illinois, that they're worse than Illinois. It's a weird conversation to have when you're arguing about how bad your state is. But I do not believe in leaving the state. I think that if conservatives leave the states as they turn lunatic lefty, we have a serious problem because they're just going to continue to expand power. And I warned about this about a year ago. The lunatic left was shipping people from other left states into conservative strangleholds and using the voting laws or the lack of voting laws to get votes into housing units within those states to flip races. And you should look into it and take a look as how many people were migrating across state borders that were probably being paid by some super PACs so that they can get the election results that they wanted. They literally bought the election by bribing people to move into different areas. And people thought that was a crazy concept when I wrote about it professionally on LinkedIn. And sure enough, it turned out to be the case in Georgia and other states that they were, in fact, doing such things. John McAfee, and he's been in the news over the past few years. He invented some virus software. I think he was down in the Caribbean. Well, he's making the news again, and he's being charged with promoting cryptocurrencies. I have no opinion on the value of any cryptocurrency. I will not be making any opinion on it. All I know is the technology is phenomenal. The value of cryptos, who knows what they're going to be. Maybe the sky's the limit. Maybe they're worth zero. I have no idea. Please talk to a professional who holds themselves out in that capacity. Just so you know, any advice about companies, it's just for anything, not advice about companies, but any conversation about companies, strictly educational purposes only. Please consult with an expert before you make any sort of decisions based on anything you hear on any of my broadcasts. Please do not use any of this information. That's the case. Okay, so let me see here. What else did I want to mention? Oh, so last year when 10 million Americans lost their job, okay? And keep in mind, I'm a conservative, and I'm not bashful about that fact. And I also am a very staunch capitalist. I believe in free capitalism, though, not crony capitalism. So last year when 10 million Americans lost their job, and we took on over $3 trillion of new debt as a nation, the CEO of Boeing, which, keep in mind, all those people that lost their job in the airline industry, and all these other people that probably got laid off at Boeing, for all I know. I didn't look at the numbers. The CEO took a little bit of a pay cut. He wanted to feel the pain with the rest of the country. I think he took $3 million less or something, but he still ended up making $21 million. And I'm sorry, these individuals. I got news for you. I went to school with a lot of these people in graduate school. Okay, I know what their talents are. I have a very similar talent. Unless they started the company and they're the ones that really figured out how to do something from scratch, they're just a hired hand. They should not be getting these types of pay packages. And that's just my opinion. I think that the fact that the boards are stacked and that they know how to play the game, and that a lot of Americans are investing in passive ETFs versus active mutual fund managers. You want to know why CEO pay is high? It's because a lot of Americans have been told nobody knows what's going to happen. Buy an ETF and just stay in the market that way. And my argument to people that believe that is, why not just go into a neighborhood and say, hey, I want to buy a house here, and just pay whatever the asking price is, because it's the fair price. Just whatever, buy the basket of whatever homes are going for in a particular neighborhood. You look at me like I was crazy. And what I'm trying to tell you is, you shouldn't do that when you invest your money either. Find a professional or do the work yourself. Stay away from buying these ETFs is my contrary advice. So look, it's a $8-10 trillion market. So I'm just a little flea, or flea trying to bite a mosquito biting the iron bull. All I'm saying is, all these ETFs are passive. The managers that used to manage money, a lot of them are gone. I'm one of the few independents, I guess, there aren't a lot of us, a lot of people in my industry got wiped out because of the move to ETFs. But let me explain what people in my industry that were active portfolio managers did, which isn't being done today. They used to vote the proxy. They used to be, take the time to understand what the company was doing, and then fighting those company management teams if they were taking advantage of shareholders. That's not being done anymore. In fact, a lot of these massive ETF companies, they put in their friends. They put in people that, they owe favors to, possibly. I don't know. I'm saying that we should look into this. So once again, information purposes only, we should all look into it. But I think that's the mechanism that can occur. Whoever's running these massive ETF companies, they can just make the phone call and say, hey, we own 15% of this company. We like this person here, put them in. And then all the other shareholders have no say. And then that's why someone like Boeing CEO can make $21 million. And so there's nobody policing our money. And you got to remember, we the people control the market system in this country through regulation. And if we don't start taking control back, they're going to continue to have our way with our money. And so I just want to point out one thing with regards to ETFs. Everybody's heard of a company called Tesla. And if you haven't, maybe you just fell asleep, like one of those, I think it was like, I forgot who fell asleep for like a couple of years or something. Maybe it was Sleeping Beauty. But if you weren't around the past 2 years, then that's the only way you probably have not heard about Tesla. So Tesla hit almost $1 trillion market cap not too long ago. And Tesla is still worth quite a bit of money, probably $500 or $600 billion. Now, the reason why I bring up Tesla is in a lot of indexes, okay? And I have no opinion on the valuation right now. I'm just speaking about it from an educational perspective. So Tesla's worth $500 to $600 billion, and the entire automotive, sector, the largest automotive, not every single auto company in the world, but all the big ones. Fiat, Ford, General Motors, Daimler-Benz, Toyota, all the big guys. If you add up all of them with Tesla, they're worth like $1.2 trillion or something, just the stock, not including the debt. So that $1.2 trillion is, once again, it's 1,200 million millions. And there's a million millions and a trillion. I'm sorry. So million, millions, and a trillion. So it's 1.2 million millions and a trillion. That's how much money it is. Okay. Said another way, just imagine if 1.2 million Americans received a check for $1 million. That's how much $1.2 trillion is. That's what the auto industry is worth. Well, how much is Tesla worth? Okay, that's what the auto industry is worth. The revenue of the auto industry, all these companies I talked about worldwide, is probably about 1.1 trillion. So it's almost like one for one. The value of all these companies is 1.2 trillion on the stocks. The revenue is about 1.1 trillion. So anybody think about the revenue of any small business, just magnify it, because these are all autos. Okay. So how much is Tesla doing in revenue? Well, Tesla is doing less than 4% of the market. So Tesla is doing 40 billion. Okay. Now 40 billion out of 1.1, 1.2 trillion or thereabouts, between 1 trillion and 1.2 trillion. So it's doing less than 4%. And I just told you that the market's worth about 1.1, 1.2 trillion dollars as well, all the stocks. So Tesla, if it was the same as everybody else, it would be about, 40 to 50 billion dollar valuation. Same that, if it was based on market share. Well, Tesla's worth 10 times that, even after it fell. It's worth about $500 billion, I think. I got to double check. But anyways, all I'm saying is Tesla is it's about half of the market value of all autos. Okay. It's actually worth 570 billion. Yeah. So it's worth about half of the value of all the auto companies in the world, the stock that is. And it's doing 4% of the sales. So it's a ratio of 12 to 1. 12. So if you're buying Tesla, you got to think it's going to keep growing and nobody else is going to make any money and everybody else is going to shrink and nobody else is going to figure out the game. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. It could. I live in a world of probabilities. Maybe Tesla is the one that's going to have it all figured out. But if you think that these other automakers are going to figure something out, Tesla might be worth kind of looking at, and figuring out what you should do next. So I'm just telling you this because Tesla and all these other automakers are in ETFs and they're in indexes. And so sometimes as money comes into an index, it just keeps rebalancing what's been working. Okay. And so Tesla was working from the standpoint the stock kept going up. So people kept buying it because it was going up. And there's a disconnect between looking at what's taking place beneath the surface because there aren't people doing the thinking as much with regards to the portfolio managers that are out there. And that's just something to think about when you're doing this stuff, So, how you're investing your money. Is it following common sense? And so with that, that's what I wanted to kind of end it on. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I hope that you guys are finding this helpful. And, I'm going to, I guess I'm going to sign out for now and stay tuned on my channel if you want to see other things that I talk about. I talk about a bunch of things because I do think they're all interrelated. I'm doing I'm doing a few other things. And one of which is I'm using math to describe how I'm losing weight because of all the COVID pounds that I picked up in the past year. That's extremely important to revitalizing our country because right now I think that the country is not going to be producing up to its fullest potential if we're all unhealthy. So that's why I'm talking about that and different ways to use math to get healthy again. The other thing I talk about is spirituality. I think a lot of the problems that we have stem from the fact that spiritually our nation is hurting. Spirituality is tied to capitalism, believe it or not, because with spirituality, if you have a system where you trust and respect people, you tend to be much more prosperous than a system where you distrust people and you have an amorality or atheist type of view, like the satanic communists that are out there. And so I think all these things are related. Religion is related to your physical fitness, and then your physical fitness and religion are related to how well we do as a society and how prosperous we are and how well we solve problems together. So that's why people are wondering, man, this Bobby seems like he's all over the place. He's doing stuff on his fasting, then he's doing stuff on religion. And keep in mind, I'm doing my stuff on religion because number one, I'm not ashamed of my religion, and I don't think anybody should. And I think more people should speak up about it because I got to tell you, the Satanists that run the media, run Hollywood, and run a lot of government elected officials and agencies, they don't have any problem talking about their satanic policies. They have no problem talking about killing a baby a couple minutes before it's about to be born. No problem. They do it with a smile in a press conference. And so I'm tired of looking the other way. These folks can go out there and spout out evil, and then we sit back and do nothing. And if you say something, they try to chastise you. which is another way that they that I'm speaking up because I'm tired of that. And I think we all need to start speaking up and fight back. Or when we wake up one day and they come and collect us up, you'll wonder why that happened, because not enough people spoke up. So I'm doing this for a lot of different reasons, but the biggest reason is because I'm concerned about the far worse outcome if we don't do something. And so that's that. And then obviously the market, the AM and the PM. I'll be doing these every day when the market's open. 7:45 is what I'll be targeting in the morning, and then at 4 p.m. I'll do an intro, and in the evening session I'll try to make it a little more organized for things that people want to see. If you have ideas of things that you think I should be doing, please make them in the comment line. I'm not going to do a fasting thing today because I don't think I have that too much more to cover right now where I'm at. But the good news is I'm down about 5 pounds in 5 days, and I'm estimating about 2.5 of that 5 is water weight. But by doing this intermittent fasting and doing calorie restriction simultaneously, it's working. It's so far it's doing a good job, and I'm going to do this for 33 days. If you look at me just a week ago, my face was a lot puffier, and I look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, maybe. but I lost a couple of those pounds, and I even got a haircut to people's recommendation. So I finally cut my hair as well. So thank you guys for listening, and with that, have a blessed weekend, and I'll see you soon if you join any of my other broadcasts. Thank you.